Hi, welcome to the Steps to Success podcast. In this podcast, we talk to people who had a different first degree to what they're doing now. We talk about their career pivots and what led them to pivot, and we learn and we get inspired by their stories. My guest today is the very inspirational Hajra Jaafar, who started off with an undergraduate degree in economics, psychology, and English literature. Then she moved to do an MBA, worked in the corporate sector for a few years, then moved into teaching and through a Montessori qualification, and then moved into life coaching through a life coaching qualification. So she's had various pivots in her journey. And she now runs a very successful life coaching business in Dubai and in the UK. And it's my pleasure today to welcome Hajra Jaafar. Hi, Hajra, how are you?
Thank you so much, first of all, for this opportunity. I'm doing outstanding.
So good to have you on my podcast. And your journey is so inspirational because I think with the different phases in your life, you have moved and you have pivoted in your career multiple times. Tell me about how it started. And you said that you did an undergraduate, your college or high school, rather, as it would be now, was primarily in English literature, economics, and psychology. And then you went on in college and high school, and then you went on to do an MBA. How was it? Was it easy or was it difficult to do an MBA without a business undergrad education?
I think for me, I'm the youngest of three siblings. For me, other people made the decisions who were more knowledgeable, who had more experiences. And 25 years ago, things were very different than what we are in now. So I think I went with the flow in terms of believing in the people who believed in me. So undergrad degree in literature, economics, and psychology was, kind of a stepping stone to see where I really want to go ahead. But because my sister and my brother were already done their MBAs and they were in the same field, my brother-in-law was also an IBA graduate. So it was just kind of easy where my father thought this was the perfect career for me. And it led me to do MBA. Definitely, each and every degree has its own challenges. But I think I really, really enjoyed my time and learning at the university level. But I think the actual learning comes when you start working and implementing those learnings.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so after your MBA, you had a brief stint in Pakistan in HR, and then you moved to Canada and you worked in Canada for a few years. So tell me about that work. How linked was that to the MBA that you had done, or did you have to take on any further qualifications to work in Canada?
So when I moved to Canada back in 2003, I was freshly graduate with a little bit 6 months of experience with a bank. So initially, it took me a long time to adjust to the fact that, okay, I'm not going to find directly something in my own field because I majored in marketing. And marketing at that point in time in Canada was way too advanced from what we were doing in Pakistan. And Canada is not an easy market to start off your first career. They want their Canadian degrees. They want the Canadian experience. So I then did a short course, which was a Canadian securities course, which helps you to understand the Canadian market more towards finance than the marketing. And then when I started working for Fidelity Investments, what I would say was the best thing from my learning from my MBA was, simple subjects of business communication, simple accounting techniques, and marketing as well in terms of understanding how and different people are thinking what would work. Again, there was a huge difference between the advertising, brand, and marketing. So I quickly realized.
I'll take you back a minute to Hajra when you said that when you moved to Canada, it wasn't easy to find jobs.
Yes.
And then you decided that you needed a Canadian certification. How did you decide what kind of certification to do? And, what were the deciding factors? Who guided you?
See, at that point in time, the most important thing when you are fresh from a university, you want to just do something, find something, and at the same time, you are starting a new life. So my ex-husband at that time was graduated from there, and he was working. He knew the market, and he kind of guided me towards it. And initially, it took me a long time, and he kept on, convincing me that you will not find the marketing job because advertising, marketing, brand is totally different here. So he was one of those people who really, really kind of, brought me to the reality that I really need to change myself, change my way of thinking, and get a certification in something which I can find job. Because at that point in time, you're looking for job, you need to, finance yourself, you need financial stability. You can't wait and see the opportunity coming, which was very difficult because obviously you are competing with a bigger market.
And it's important to be flexible when you're trying to enter the job market and take on shorter certifications, specializations, etc. Because they are, they were available then, and now 20, 21, 22 years later, they're obviously much more accessible. And I think that there's a lot of value in, being open then from your story. So to being open to other opportunities and expand your vision when you're looking for jobs, if that's the message that I'm getting from your journey.
Yes, definitely. I remember my ex-husband used to tell me, looking for a job is a full-time job.
It is.
You need to spend a lot of time creating your resume for each and every job. But what I also see important thing that I really, really feel which is important right now is the flexibility. You cannot get fixated that I graduated in this degree or this is my passion. Yes, that is a long-term goal. But depending on how the life is moving, you need to pay your bills, you need to grow yourself, you need to make networking work for you, have those contacts that are not going to come if you're just too fixated towards the end goal. In between, you have to take those routes to find your way towards your ultimate goal.
And also understand the current requirements in the job market, right? And upskill yourself constantly.
Definitely.
So you worked at Fidelity Bank for a few years, and then you took a slight career break for your children?
I was still on, I worked full-time for 3.5 years with Fidelity Investments. Then I had my son. Canada is amazing. We get 13 months of maternity leave. During this process, me and my ex-husband moved to Dubai, and we just started looking at the market here. I was expecting my second child, and we had our children here. And then 2008 recession happened. And at that point in time, I did realize that it will be very difficult to go back to my main field. Reason being that my kids were very young. My son had health issues, and I just realized that I cannot go back to full-time job, even if I have a lot of support at home. But I could not sit at home as well. So I just thought quickly, I think within a few days, that I'm going to go for this Montessori course. Fortunately, one of my friends was mentioning, and the new course was starting in just a few days. So I did not think too much. I just decided I want to just go ahead and do it because this will give me the flexibility to be around the kids and to work for the kids. So the next 4 years, I was working with the Montessori after finishing my course. Fortunately, I got the jobs in the Montessoris that my kids were studying at. And when they moved to the big school, I moved with them to the bigger school. So for about 8.5 years, I was teaching. By that time, my kids were in high school, beginning high school. And that was the time we decided to send them to boarding back to Canada to get in the Canadian system, to be able to better integrate with the Canadians. Obviously, we wanted to send them for university and get them more independence as well. Because in this I'm talking about is 2017, 18, 19, when the Dubai market was quite volatile. Their dad used to work in oil and gas, and we said we don't want him losing a job or something else happening. We do not want the kids to suffer. So let's move them to Canada so that they get integrated with the Canadian system.
Right. So when you did your Montessori training, that's a very intensive course, right? A lot of the times I find, especially women who do frequently make the shift from corporate into teaching for very much the same reasons, because of the flexibility, because they can spend time with their children. There's a lot of and there's a lot of advantages to actually being in education when your children are younger, but it's also a very, very demanding career. And I think a lot of women or men, if they go into teaching, don't really realize how demanding it is. And they feel, well, it's great, we'll have, whatever I don't know, 12, 15 weeks of holiday every year. And, we'll come back at 3 o'clock and then that will be it. Was that the same for you?
Well, to be very honest, it is quite misunderstood profession, I would say, especially in the Middle East. People think it's easier to work as a teacher. I remember when I started working with the big school, I had to be in school at 7:20 and I will finish at 4 p.m. So when I told that to my sister, she said, "You're better off to go and do a banking job because you're putting that many hours." But obviously, because it worked for me with my kids and the timings and the holiday, that was the advantage, going together, coming back together, having the same calendar holidays. Other than, I think it has been the toughest jobs that I've done, because at one point in time, and especially I was doing mostly kids between the age of 2 to 7 years.
It's very
in that
intense.
8.5 years. And so you are actually at one time dealing with younger kids. You are dealing with your help assistant, you are dealing with your teachers, you are dealing with the parents. So at one point in time during one day, you are actually having a contact with totally different age groups and totally different mindsets, which has taught me a lot. To juggle and take quick decisions, and also just understand this, go with the flow. You can't control things. You have to kind of be completely flexible for the changes.
And I'm sure your psychology background, as well as the leadership, time management, etc., the management skills that you learned on your MBA, they would have had been very, very useful in your Montessori work, right?
Definitely. I think the things that I learned during my MBA has helped me in each and every profession. I don't actually sit and reflect back, but now I am talking to you, how the brochure should be created, how the branding needs to be done. Although, in teaching, I was not doing those directly, but indirectly, I was using, how the projects should be colorful for the kids, how I need to manage my time to make sure, each and every child in the classroom is getting full attention. At the same time, I'm also supporting my support staff in the class. So, there were certain subjects definitely help me way too much.
There are a lot of stakeholders in teaching. A teacher is dealing with multiple stakeholders, right? Your teachers, your juniors, your children, the parents.
And
the
obviously
senior
the management, senior management.
So there are, exactly as there would be in corporate. So I'm sure all of that transferred really well.
I absolutely enjoyed my time, but I also feel that it is a very underrated profession.
It is.
Underpaid.
And underpaid. And I always tell, and I'm going to address sort of, people who are aspiring to get into the teaching profession. And as somebody who's done a lot of teacher training, I always say, do not enter teaching thinking, oh, it's an easy career, so I'll do it. That's what I thought when I entered teaching. I thought, well, this is possibly, it's something I'll do and be home by 2 and then I'll have time. But you very quickly find out that it's not that easy. And I think I was lucky that I found a passion for teaching and I didn't resent it, but there are a lot of people who don't find a passion for teaching. So be very mindful of, joining the career, because it is overworked, underpaid, and it's a lot of responsibility because you're affecting children's minds and thoughts and habits and behaviors and shaping their personalities. So it's quite a disservice if you go into teaching if you're not adequately mentally prepared for it as well.
Definitely. And I think teaching younger kids is fun. It's quite hands-on, but it is extremely challenging.
Very.
Because the parents are on you like eagles, and especially now that we are moving to nuclear families and maybe only one child at home, the parents are they just feel that their child is only coming to school. They forget that there are other 22 kids. But as a teacher, to kind of manipulate that situation in the way that you are able to concentrate on each and every child's well-being, to kind of master that, it's quite hard.
It's very hard.
On top
Absolutely.
of that, with all the documentation that needs to be done, 15, 20 years, I think it was much easier. But now in societies like UAE, there's so much documentation needs to be done for everything. Why the child cried, what happened, why they get hurt, was it abuse at home? So many things that people are just unaware of that is happening with teachers on daily basis.
Yeah, and that's why that training is so important, right? To be actually trained and not just think you can enter the teaching profession for want of any other qualification. So you taught for a few years, and then you moved into. You also ran an Airbnb business for some
Yes.
time, and then you moved into life coaching.
So that came hand in hand. So when my kids were leaving for Canada, I had to leave my full time job of teaching. Reason being that we wanted to be flexible. If I had to travel before them, and obviously the calendar years were different, and teaching where it has a lot of benefits. One drawback is that you can't take time off when you want. You can
Yes,
have time when
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
school is giving you, but otherwise you could not. You can't. You have to be there at the beginning of the year. You have to be there at the end of the day, at end of the year. For me, those were the challenges because I wanted to be with my kids when they were settling in Canada. So those were the reasons for leaving my full-time job. But obviously once I left, I had to think about a career. So I actually sat down and I did the wheel of life, and I just like, okay, what are the options that I have now, considering that I have flexibility of time, but also I have limitation because of my kids being in a country which is quite far. And that is where I said, okay, let me just explore life coaching. It was relatively a new concept. To understand myself and learn NLP to be more positive and understand how we can just mingle it. And when I started doing it right in the first day, I just thought this is something for me. A person like me who have had so many changes in career and in my life, this is something that I would like to practice as a practitioner.
Tell me about that wheel of life that you did before you were a coach. How were you introduced to doing that sort of
See, Wheel of
Wheel of
Life
Life
was a
activity?
tool that we used to use as a family just to see where we are because my ex-husband used to travel a lot for work, for me as well, whether I'm able to, kind of balance my life. So we started doing it as a family.
And how were you introduced to
This
it?
was introduced by my ex-husband. He
Okay.
he probably used that tool at his work,
At his
and then he
workplace.
brought it at
Yeah.
home. And then what happened was when I did that, I came across this institute which was offering. So I contacted them and I said I would like to have actually 3 sessions done. But prior to that, when I spoke to the instructor, I said to her, "I want to know more about you, and I want to understand how life coaching works." And then she said, "Okay, let me give you a couple of my students who have done this course. You speak to them, and you get a feedback, and then you decide." So when I called them, they said, "Best is you do the life coaching sessions yourself. Book 3 sessions, see how it works. We will show you how it works." When I started doing those, that gave me a lot of clarity in terms of what I really wanted and how I can use this as a profession. I clearly remember one of the sessions was that the lady asked me, "What do I really want to do now?" So I was like, "Okay, I want to be, dressed up. I want to go to office. I want to speak to people because I was missing my corporate life, and I should be able to solve problems, things like that." And then she's just paused and she said, "What is stopping you to do that? Are you not doing that in current business?" And I just looked back because at that time I was managing Airbnb business. I just looked at actually I'm doing everything. The only thing I'm not doing is getting dressed up and
Going
sitting
out, yeah.
and doing it. I'm dealing with people. I'm doing the problem solving. I'm on the phones. I'm going and checking the clients. I'm preparing the marketing material. I am posting ads. So all the things that I've learned in my MBA is actually coming back, and all my experiences are actually leading me to this way. But the only perception I had that I had to go somewhere in an office setup and get dressed up. And then she asked me one question, that who's stopping you to be dressed up like that? And that kind of changed. Yes. So every morning now I get up, I get dressed up, no matter if I have to go or not. But it just gives me that mindset that yes, I am working for myself, but I'm a professional and I'm doing it.
When I'm doing career coaching, there's so many times when I meet professionals who have so many skills and talents, and perhaps they're not able to find the right job for themselves, and they have so much potential to be an entrepreneur. But I think it's that want to have a structured job. And as you said, to dress up, go out, that's holding them back from being an entrepreneur because that's what they desire without thinking that, well, you can actually do that for yourself as well. Give yourself that discipline. And then, you are the corporate.
Yeah. And I think what really helped me through those 3 sessions to kind of decide that this is what I want to do was actually to come to the core of what people want. What are the basics? What are the purpose? Because in today's life, when everything is so challenging, we are living in such a fast-paced life that we don't actually get time to reflect and go back and understand what is our purpose. and spend more time. And that's why a lot of time when people come to me and they said, okay, you're a life coach, but tell me more, which niche you are doing. I said, I do have a niche, but I would like to be labeled more like a life coach. Reason being, you need to be at the top to really understand what is it that you want. It's good to have a fitness coach, keto coach, business coach, but before that, what is it exactly that you want from life?
It's like a physician for the soul, right?
Yeah,
and then you go to the specialist
exactly.
if you need to. When did you start coaching with Hajra, this entrepreneurial journey?
See, I had been practicing because, as I said, my kids were in boarding in Canada, and COVID, things were quite flexible in UAE, but Canada was very strict. So I ended up spending a lot of time in Canada, and we had moved to England by that time. But because of my business, I was coming back to Dubai. So I kept on practicing it since 2021, but I was doing mostly remote, based in England and Canada because my kids and family were there. So it was easier for me to be there and find clients there. And it was actually quite a good start to do those remote sessions because when you are in the beginning, you are just trying to understand how it works. And you have to have a lot of client agreements and contract, which I thought in person would be challenging in the beginning. But in Dubai, I registered my company in November of 2023, sorry.
2023. Okay, so it's 1.5 years.
So registered it in Dubai for 2023, but I've been practicing since 2021.
And what are the kinds of clients that you have now? Is it mostly corporate clients? Is it mostly stay-at-home moms? What's your typical client profile?
It's a mix. As I said, I like to be focused on having more life coaching rather than specifying it. But yes, I do like personally to work more with women empowerment. I love to work people like me who have had career changes or career breaks and then who are going through midlife crisis, the emptiness syndrome, divorce. Reason being, I've been trained to work with these people, plus I have also experienced those. So as a coach, we should not be sharing our own experiences, but I think the connectivity is much better. And I like to work with everyone. Coaching is a very, very challenging field because you cannot coach anyone unless they are not ready.
How do people decide that they want a coach? A lot of the times when people are experiencing some kind of stress, they feel that they need to go to a therapist. So just, so educate our audience in terms of when should they be going to a therapist and when should they be going to a coach?
See, this is something I come up with a lot of times. So therapy and counseling is when you are trying to deal with a past trauma. Something has happened and you try to fix it. So you go back to those moments, you try to relive them and find a solution where the therapist or the counselor will tell you what to do. What needs to be done, this is how you need to schedule it. Then we have mentoring, where you have somebody from your field, you go and you ask them, what should I do? For example, my mentor will be my coach, and I can ask her, okay, I want to scale up, you tell me what should I do, and she will give me exact instructions how I need to do, or give me, scenarios where she's actually kind of giving me advice. Then we have consultancy, which is normally for the business owners and businesses, where you hire people to come and tell you to solve the problem
directly, very categorically, unlike
so these are all the other
mentoring,
disciplines, whereas coaching is totally different. So coaching is where, as coaches, we cannot give you advice. But we spend a lot of time asking you those difficult questions that you don't want to answer. We ask about a lot of limiting beliefs. So there's a lot of questioning and a lot of active listening on side of the coach to understand and find, what the client is saying, not realizing that they are saying, and then bringing those points in reality to the client and tell them these are the things that we have noticed. What do you think? And it gives them an opportunity to think if this is true, what they mean. Obviously, a lot of us find those blocks and we don't want to answer. But people who are really willing to change, that is when they decide, okay, this is something which has been often happening and I was not able to focus it. So let me just go ahead and find a nice life coach who can help me and who can challenge me. and you have broad range of clients. Couple of my clients are so well prepared. They come with the whole sheet and they're like, okay, this is what I need to talk about, this is how I need to do this, we did last time. And then there are people who just come having no idea what it is going to be. So each session is such a unique session because you just don't know what is going to happen. But one thing I really, really want to focus on, coaching will give you the answers if you are willing to get those answers.
Yes, there has to be that willingness, because I think a lot of the times the questions are difficult, right? So it's people don't always want to answer those questions, and that's what's blocking them.
Right. And sometimes the questions are actually very simple. So I had one client, a couple who were planning to move to Canada with their kids. And they kept on talking about, if we go to Canada, we will lose our lifestyle in Dubai, and this will happen and that will happen. So then I asked them, okay, I just asked him one simple question. I said, I want you to focus what will happen if you don't move to Canada. And then it's interesting, they have not moved to Canada. They have sent their kids to abroad. And that client came back to me and he said, that one question actually kind of liberated me, because I was only thinking that what will I be losing if I move? Okay, I will be gaining, and the focus was there. But when the focus came to just this simple question, what will happen if you do not move?
Yeah.
It kind of really gave him the clarity. So I think when you come in the session with the mindset that, yes, you want to change, and you will be able to answer, or you want to answer that. You might not have the answer right away, but it gives you a thinking ground.
That to reframe your thought process.
Exactly.
Just that question reframes the thought process. That's why, as I said, the questions are difficult, not in the nature of the complexity, but because they really force people to think, right?
Exactly.
Let's move to sort of something more personal.
Yeah.
You said that you were divorced.
Yes.
And obviously you had a long marriage.
Yes.
And how many years were you married before?
I was married for 20 years.
20 years.
And engaged
then
for
you
5
divorced.
years.
Oh, so a 25-year-old partnership. How did your the sort of coaching journey help you navigate your own divorce? Because that is a very painful process.
Yes, for me, I think my faith in God and coaching and my NLP practice kind of is the reason for my survival. The techniques that I learned from NLP were amazing, because that kind of really helps me to stay in the positive. I repeat this a lot of times. One of the presuppositions of NLP, which is there's no failure, only feedback. And I have that power, whether that feedback is positive, negative, or no feedback. Because if I start treating every journey or like, for example, in case divorce as my failure, I will have extreme difficulty in moving forward. I think that was a journey, as people, somebody very wise said, people come in your life for a reason, for a season, and for a lifetime. So yes, that season was way too long, but I had amazing learnings in that that time. But post-divorce, obviously, there are moments when you just feel very depressed and low and down. But the NLP presuppositions really, really helped me. The moment I start going into negative phase, or why this happened to me, why is it, happening in this way? I have lost this. But I start to now focus on what have I learned from them and what positives do I have now.
That's important, right? To constantly frame everything in a positive way. And many people are not able to do that because, we get into self-pity, we get into maybe what did I do wrong, or maybe it was my fault, or, or whatever, various reasons. So what's the one piece of advice you would give people who are struggling perhaps in a relationship, or perhaps through job loss, and they're feeling, why me?
See, I would say the best thing out of this whole situation is to accept. First of all, have the acceptance, whatever has happened, whether it's divorce, whether it is a loss of job, whether it's a loss of a loved one, accept it. This has happened and it is out of your control. If it was not out of your control, you could not have saved it. Sometimes we say, if I had done this and that. In my case, I had done everything. And just after my divorce, just 3 months later, my mother passed away. And fortunately, I was with her towards the end of her life. And if I go back in those times, I do have zero regret. Whatever I could have done, both for my marriage and for my mother, I had done. So I have no regrets.
It's important
And
to know that,
even,
right? It's
yeah,
important to give
and
it
even if I
that.
have some regrets, I kind of challenge them myself. What are those? Are they really regrets or they are a learning? And from there, I take that learning and accept that I don't want to be a victim anymore. In a South Asian and Arab culture, we love to be victim, and I was one of those that I would love to be. Okay, I couldn't do this thing because my dad wanted me to do it this way, my ex-husband wanted me to do this way, but I now have realized that I gave them the power to do it.
Yes. You're only a victim if you
Yeah,
let somebody else
because
make you a victim. Yeah.
now, for example, power could be like my father deciding what subjects I should choose, or my mother deciding who should I marry. All the other things, if I am letting other people take that decision, I should be happy and content with that. I should not complain. I was not strong enough. Whether I did that because of love, because of respect, because of having no
Culture.
choice or
Yeah.
fear, that was again my choice. So I can't blame anyone. And the other powerful thing that I've learned is I can only change myself. I cannot change anyone. I can influence other people. I can influence the decision making, but I cannot change them.
And I think a lot of the times we spend a lot of our times, whether it's personal life, professional life, trying to change other people rather than change the way we react to other people. So
Exactly.
that's what causes the friction, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think that has been a great learning, that why am I spending my time and energy changing people around me, their reactions, the economy? I cannot do, like, they're out of my control. But what I can control is how I feel. If I'm feeling distressed, if I'm feeling sad, I have the control to come back. And I've been very, very fortunate that I have wonderful siblings and my father, my cousins, and my friends who have always been that support, especially post divorce, that I know I have them at the back. But it is only me who can do that. I have realized it very quickly when you go through a fall, you don't have anyone. People you think that are your support, just use them as support. They cannot do anything more. It
They
is
cannot
you
make
who
the
have to.
decisions for you
Yeah, you
or
have to
set your
take.
goals.
See, they
Yeah.
have been making decisions, but then again, you start feeling that regret. But I think, again, that is what is life. You have to learn from the lessons what you were doing before. If you are going to do exactly the same thing, where is the growth?
Exactly, exactly. And then what have you learned?
What have I
Yeah.
learned? And one thing I do want to say, people, when they become negative, it has really, really helped me, is a presupposition again from NLP, which says that there's no person who's bad. It's the behavior which is bad.
That's true.
So when we think about anyone, the person is not bad. It's the behavior, and same goes for us. Why are we reacting in certain ways? Yes, we are very angry, we are very annoyed, but it is in our control how we react.
Yes. The
So just
reactions
giving
are
the
always in our control, yeah?
Yeah, see, when the moment you start thinking, I have the control and I have the power to react the way I want to, you feel so empowered that, coming back to the original question, what to do is for the people to realize that don't make yourselves victim.
Yep.
Accept the way you are, your authentic self. You don't like it, you work on it.
Yeah.
You don't want to recognize it, you cannot move forward. It is very easy, and it's not an easy journey. It will not happen in a day or 2 days. It will take years.
And it's some painful realizations as well, right? Because you have to accept perhaps places where you were wrong and
Yeah.
then realize that you now need to change. Because if we stay in the mindset of, I was always the victim, I was always right, the other person was always wrong, then you're not really moving forward.
Yeah.
Coming to coaching with Hajra, you're a young organized company. What are your plans for 2025 and beyond?
So, for what I would say, life coaching is a misunderstood profession as well. It is relatively a new profession as well. There are no rules and regulations. You have coaches that you can get a coaching certification from a $29 to a $29,000. So, as a certified coach, that is the challenge that I face. That people come and they say, "Oh, we are finding another coach who is probably not certified but much cheaper. So that is one challenge that we face. But for coaching with Hajra, I just try to tell people with my experiences that yes, it's not only the certification, it is also the experience.
Yes. Because you
And
have 20-year-olds who have certifications and, they bring their perspective, but then they don't bring the experience, right?
yes, so the
Yeah.
life expenses, it's like, as I
Yeah.
said, people go through different things. What I have gone through in last 18 months, people don't go through a lifetime. And for me, it just happened one after the other, just to make me more stronger and understand, yes, we can come out of it. So for the plans, I do want to educate people what life coaching is. So I'm really grateful that, you had that session where I had the opportunity to explain people how coaching is different. So that is the biggest aim for me, is to spend a lot of time educating people what coaching is, which I'm already doing through my reels and wherever I get the opportunity to speak. Second thing that I want to do is I'm already doing a lot of workshops which are based on the ideas of life coaching, in order to make people come and sit and have little bit feel of what it means to connect with yourself. And these are fun exercises, these are fun workshops, because as a Montessorian, I think I like people using their fine motor skills and sit and do things with their hands. Because we're in this world, I absolutely appreciate AI and technology, but I also feel that we are ending up spending way too much time on these things when we can spend some time in creativity. For example, in whenever I do vision board activities, a lot of people say, "Why can't we do online? It is so much fun. We can do it." I said, "Yes, you can do it, but why not sit together, have other people around you, physically cut things and stick? Because that is going to leave a far more impact than just creating it online."
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I attended your vision boarding exercise just yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a Ramadan vision boarding exercise, something I'd never done before. And again, as a former kindergarten teacher, I've done a lot of, sort of making collages with children and all, but we don't really take time to do those things ourselves, right? For ourselves. And it was really nice. And of course, I got to connect with people. I got to meet new people that perhaps in an online similar workshop I would have connected but not maintained. And of course, there was yummy food and photographs. So
I will say, add one more thing. When I create these workshops, the whole purpose of creating them is to take people, to give people an opportunity to connect with themselves.
Very important.
And honestly, 99% of the people after doing these workshops come back to me and they say, "You have taken us back to our school days."
Yes.
And that gives me an immense pleasure, because when we were 6, 7, 8, years, we were the most authentic of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So if I'm able to create that experience where people were authentic and could connect to their authentic self, that is a win for me, because that will kind of help them to move forward and work towards their authenticity.
And also, I think, because life is so busy, it's just convenient to do something online or sign up for something online and maybe not even turn up or keep your camera off, but to actually turn up physically to to an event, especially in the middle of a weekday morning, is challenging. And I have to admit, yesterday, I was running late. I'd just come out of a meeting and I was tempted not to come and then, do the commute. And then I couldn't find parking and I was tempted to turn back and go home. But I thought, no, I'm going to do it, just because of that accountability as well, because I had committed to you that I was coming. And I felt, oh, no, it doesn't look nice if I don't go. So I need to go. And really, that's the mindset I came in. Oh, I've committed. So now I need to turn up. And when I was there and I was actually doing the vision boarding exercise, I thought, I'm so glad I didn't turn back. I didn't give up on that, not finding a parking spot. And I actually persevered and made it. And it was a simple activity that, possibly we could all do on our own, but just the fact that we were doing it collectively and we were guided by somebody who was actually sort of, giving us some food for thought was so much more effective than if I just sat in my living room and done it, because I would have just said, well, that's just fine. I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to do for Ramadan. And, we all, Ramadan comes around every year, but just that mindfulness of doing it with other people and hearing your guided questions and your ideas sparked so many little ideas in my mind. And also then, sort of peeking over and looking at what other people are writing as well. Oh, yeah. Oh, so the person sitting next to me wrote in a big, bold, Zoom with the children at iftar and sahur. And I was like, wow, that's a brilliant idea. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
So there is so much power in doing things together. And really, I have to thank you for that experience. And also, I think just stepping back and breathing and not letting your workday be consumed by work and just taking that time. So thank you for creating those spaces.
No, thank you so much for your appreciation. And I would say one more thing that I've learned through these experiences, my personal and professional experience, is living in the moment.
Yes, very important.
Because what happens is, we keep on thinking of what had already happened. We can't change that. What will happen in the future, we cannot change. The only control we have is of this moment. So why not make it the best moment?
Yes.
Whatever you are doing, no matter how stressed you are, but you just try to enjoy this moment.
We only have one life. Yeah. So, Hajra, what are your plans for the next 5 years?
Well, to be very honest, the long-term plan for 5 years is to have this business established in the sense where there's more recognition and understanding of life coaching. One thing I will also add in coaching, a lot of people think they might have to open way too much and they would have to share their personal life. Experienced life coaches do not need that. A lot of times I tell my clients, if there's something uncomfortable you are about, don't talk to me, just write it down in your book. Because a lot of people think, we will be sharing way too much and we might not be able, because the coaches are there to help you reflect on your life and they will find that. So I want to reach to a level where people are coming to coaches without having this, kind of
fear
mindset that, we're not ready for it or we are just going to do it. I don't know if it is going to work or not. To have that kind of a personality and practice where people can just walk in knowing that, yes, they will find the answers by themselves, but with the help and support of a experienced life coach.
A lot of the times people who we coach, people who we're working with, they're young people, maybe teenagers or young adults. And when they look at, life coaches or career coaches or guidance counselors, they feel, I would like to be doing this in the future. Obviously, there's a lot of experience that goes behind. And as you said, behind what we do. And then there's the qualifications. Is there a shortcut to becoming a life coach? Should people graduate from university and just go into life coaching, in your opinion?
To be very honest, as I said it earlier, you can do a coach course at 29. I've done that online as well as a revision for my coach with my proper certification. I personally believe that, obviously whatever has happened in your life helps you to move forward. But life coaching is also that, you need to have your own experiences. You need to have, I think my psychology degree, my bachelor's in psychology is now coming into practice. And my business education is also kind of helping me in terms of how to mold it. So obviously you need to have proper qualifications. You need to have experiences. Now, a 20-year-old coaching a 60-year-old is possibility. In coaching field, this is the most diverse field in the sense that you really don't have, because the younger people can give older people a perspective that...
Oh, absolutely. A very fresh perspective
so,
that they haven't
I would say
yet.
As long as you have a certified, coaching degree or qualification, that is what you need to be aware of. And if you're younger, then maybe target people that you really want to influence and make the change to. I think with life coaching, again, there's a lot of responsibility because you are helping people maneuver their way. So I think it is a lot of accountability. I think I learn more in each and every session than my clients do.
That's
because
true,
it just gives you so much of insight in what people are going through and how they are managing.
What advice would you give to somebody who's considering getting coaching for themselves? How should they find the right life coach for themselves?
I think the best part to do anything, most of the coaches nowadays offer free consultation. The first session is for free. Because you should have a lot of times, people say, oh, we want a coach from our own background who can understand ourselves, which is amazing. It really works for certain people. But sometimes you need to have a different ethnicity to question your limiting beliefs. As coaches, we are trained not to have our own prejudices or our own limited thoughts or any kind of judgments. But then obviously, it may have an impact. They might not be able to question you in that way. But at the same time, there are advantages because they understand how the system works. So they might be able to give you a different perspective. So obviously, choose a life coach who has a different kind of experiences, who have lived in different countries, who have managed different kind of people. That gives them a holistic approach, and they would not be, kind of focusing only on one aspect. So when you are choosing, look for those kind of first certification is, I think, most important. And then based on what you really like, once you book a 45-minute call with them, you will know if there's a connect or not.
So that connect is really important.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Hajra. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much, and I'm sure our audience has as well. Any last words, any last thoughts?
I would say I will end it up with another NLP presupposition, that you have all the resources within yourself. God has created, divine has created us with all the resources that is required for each or one of us to survive in this world. But it is on us to explore those resources. So be open-minded, be able to think out of the box, challenge yourself, be out of your comfort zone, and that is where the growth will happen.
Thank you so much, Hajra. Really
Thank you so
enjoyed
much for
this.
your opportunity.
Looking forward to seeing you all at our next podcast. Thank you.